Alright, I'm finally going to start this video on how to hand brush the model car parts. I was going to do this last weekend, but I ended up putting the first few coats of color and first couple coats of clear on this model. It still needs wet sanding, full chrome foil trim around the windows, and another good clear coat. It's a really nice color combination. Looks good in the sun. Got a couple new cases. I don't know if I like them. They sit the models at an angle there. I think they were made more for die-cast cars. Anyways, excuse me. Been all to my lonely this morning. These are the first words I've spoken today. I'm cleaning, doing housework, and situating my work, upholstery work. So let's make it over here and get this started. I've done a few things to the Challenger also. Actually quite a bit. I'll share what I've done as I go here. Let me start doing something. I don't know if I have many viewers really interested in this, but I said I was going to do it. I need to be a man of my word, so here I am making the rest of the video. I need to get this stuff off my table and get back to work also. So I have been working. Nothing too interesting to show yet in my upholstery work. Stereo. Alright, the paints I'm using, Model Master acrylics. If you remember where we left off in the last video about this, we did a few coats of the yellow, quite a few. It took 4, almost 5 coats to get the shade yellow I needed. And didn't go too wild with the clear coat. Had a couple of layers on there because that's all we're going to have showing. I didn't have to leave that area yellow, but it's hidden. I may still paint it just to paint it. So that's our goal. I'm going to bring this one up step by step. And that clear coat is Wet Look Clear. Challenge is if I can do this on film with you and still get straight lines and not make sure not to knock the camera over. I'm using neutral gray. Speaking of knocking things over, always make sure to hold your paint very steady when you go to wipe the excess paint off the edge. I've shared that before. I have a couple different ways we can approach this. Move the camera a little bit. Can either take a large brush and start with the outside around here, making sure not to get too close to the yellow we're trying to keep. Or I can take smaller brushes and start by getting right up to the edge. Got some clean water here, not a very clean cup. Yep, this will be fun. Adjust the camera. No editing. I'm not redoing this either. So the first coat, we just want to spread the paint on here as fast as possible. And it's going to look horrible at first. That's it. I'm going to set it down, let it dry for a while. First coat's going to look about like that after it's dry. I already took and sanded the edges with the nail file. Yeah, I may need to cut my nails already. It's nice and smooth on the seam where we glued those two halves together. I've already got this wide brush out. Man, I'm gonna have to work on this. I'm not used to doing this on camera. Arms are too far in on the table, so there's another tip. Make sure you're very comfortable when you're painting. And to get nice straight lines, I usually have to make sure my arms, wrist, everything's supported real nice. So that first coat, or first, second coat, whatever, we're spreading it around as fast as possible, getting into all the nooks and crannies, making sure to spread out any globs of paint. You don't want to leave those. Man, yeah, my hand's all in the way. And I'll work on this as we go. Another tip, I'll do one half at a time, let that dry, and then hold it by the other half. This one has 2, almost 3 coats on it. You can see it's almost coated. Still going to need a few more though. All these coats are very light. So I'm going to clean the brush now. I don't want that acrylic drying up on my brush as we go and caking up into little chunks. Let's see if we can do it this way. Alright. So I'm going to hurry up. I'm very lightly applying that paint. I'm not pressing down real hard with the brush. Another good idea, if you don't want a bunch of crazy brush strokes, is to go a few different directions. I know that may sound incorrect, but if you're applying this paint right, and it's still a new bottle, you're shaking up good, it should be thin enough to spread around real nice and smooth. Doesn't look like it. We'll wait till it dries. You can keep spreading it. I'm getting lighter and lighter as I'm feathering it on there. I would usually start real deep in here also. I can barely get to this with this camera in the way. Alright. Another thing, when you're doing that, watch out for splattering paint on the pieces in the background, like I just had sitting there. Check out the dash. Had to cut up the factory column, and I super glued the resin casted steering wheel to it, then blacked out the center. And this gray is not painted yet, that's still the color of the resin. And then there's a couple layers of white. It's going to be yellow. And anytime you're doing something with a sharp tip, make sure you use a small brush and start in the tip and pull it this direction, and then back from the other side, pulling it that direction. It's alright if it gets on the edges. To me it is. I'll keep going with this and get the yellow applied, a nice coat of yellow, and when I'm happy with that, the black area is raised, so I'll very carefully come through with black and touch up the edges so we have a nice straight line. And I may do the trim around the edge and the symbol in the center, silver, something like that. And then I will do this painted gray. Super glued the mirrors. I made a mess. Now I think I can save them by adding some clear coat over the whole thing now that the chrome mirror part's glued in place. I can lightly take some 1200, 1500 grit sandpaper and smooth that out lightly without creating any scratches, and put a nice coat of clear over it. I think it'll turn out okay. We'll see. If not, I'll paint it all over again. Paint the mirror silver, then clear it. Let's go back to this. So we did this part first. Let's go to it with the smaller brush I have in my hand.